Main one. Okay. All right, we'll try this one more time. We were in the wrong part here. So if you're joining us on Zoom, welcome. We've got some people here in the classroom here at Dixie Tech. We've also got some people joining us on Zoom. So hopefully, if somebody wants to chime in on Zoom, that hopefully you can hear me. That would be great. Cool. They can hear us. Okay, so let me go ahead and share. Make sure I get on the right spot here. Okay. And you guys here, you can see that okay. The lights are good. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's come right back here. And welcome. And hopefully I can see everybody's comments as well. Let me pop up here. We'll put that right over there. Okay, so this is part of a 2-day class. It's going to be optimizing settings. Really, what the bulk of today's class is going to be is really a crash course in QuickBooks. So I know we have some people joining us that have used QuickBooks for a while. Some people that are joining us that haven't used QuickBooks at all. So really, the goal is to just give you guys a really good overview of QuickBooks, so that you can understand exactly what it is, and we can go from there. Okay, so if you weren't at the preview class, you probably don't know who I am yet. So my name is Jackson Pace. So I'm a CPA here in Southern Utah, and I've been a QuickBooks Pro Advisor for 15 plus years. And I've specifically been working in QuickBooks Online almost since it came out. It seems like almost 13 years, I think, is how long I've been using QuickBooks Online. So definitely a lot of experience with QuickBooks Online. There's a couple different resources, and you'll see them here at the bottom of our slides. We do have the Facebook group. Are you guys all in the Facebook group? Have you? Okay, so it might be new to some people. So, maybe you're not a Facebooker, but if
I am.
yeah, are you? So if you are on Facebook, I mean, most everybody's on Facebook, right? I mean, even if
For various reasons.
for various reasons. So this is, if you're not on Facebook, this is a very good reason to join Facebook. So facebook.com/groups/QuickBooks training class. I try and post just frequent updates. So for example, like the class tonight, the question was, what room are we meeting in? So if any questions, it'll be hopefully a real time, you can ask questions, I can provide updates about the class, but really just a good resource. And stuff comes across my radar, whether it's QuickBooks related, tax related, kind of in the realm of this class. If I feel like it's worthy of clogging up your Facebook feed to share, I'll go ahead and do that. So that's one resource. The other resource is QuickBooksTrainingClass.com. If you go to this website, basically what this does is it'll just take you to the scheduling page for all the different classes. So I'll just try and put those at the bottom of each one of the slides, so that way if you want to use them and go to them, you're more than welcome. Okay, again, so if anybody missed the preview class, I just wanted to go over the format of the class. So this is a 60-minute class, so it's going to go by quick. In the past, we've taught 3-hour classes, we've taught 2-hour classes, we've never taught a 60-minute class. So there's going to be a lot of information in 60 minutes. But the whole thought is, we're going to do this every single week. So we just felt like it would be too much if we're trying to do 2-hour, 3-hour class every single week. So really the goal is 60 minutes. We're going to keep it short and sweet. Hopefully keep it on the topic. If we need to bounce around a little bit, if you guys have questions outside of the class topic, definitely feel free to go ahead and ask those. But the format is, first I'll introduce the content so you guys know what the class is, what we'll be covering. Next, we're here to learn, so I'm your teacher. So I'll spend some time teaching. And then you'll probably notice, and if not, I'll bring this up here. And hopefully everybody, yeah, they should be able to see my screen. I keep losing my chat though. Okay, so obviously there's a couple different ways you can join us here in class. So you can register through the college's website, or you can also, if you want to register for the Zoom classes, you can register for those through this platform here. And so going back to the format of the class, you'll see that there'll be two classes. So for example, tonight, this is day one of a 2-day class. So actually, we're on this one right here, optimizing settings. Tomorrow will be custom dashboard, or tomorrow, on July 13th, custom dashboard. And then you'll see these review classes. So anything that's kind of this off color, this in green, that day will be committed to reviewing and going over everything we did in the prior classes. So the key, I've been teaching this class for probably 5 years now. And I feel like really, and welcome, really the key to learning QuickBooks is just repetition. It's going over it once, twice, 3 times until finally it just sticks. And that's accounting and bookkeeping in general. You know, we talk about cycles, bookkeeping cycles, accounting cycles. You know, we're typically every month is a new cycle, and so we're just constantly doing the same thing over and over. So as we go through these classes, hopefully you'll see the cadence of the repetition, but the idea is to just consistently learn, teach, review, and keep going over these classes. So those are those classes, and so again, all these classes that we've got them on the live schedule page, I think almost a year out. So you know, whatever classes you want to go through and pick. And you can register for the class up until, I think, like an hour before the class starts. So if again, this is an option. And then on this page as well, we'll have links to all the different social medias and stuff that were on there too. So, and we'll also do some bonus stuff. So in addition to QuickBooks, just to try and break it up a little bit, we'll have some bookkeeping tips you guys can work on during the week. We'll try and do like one takeaway that hopefully will really add some value through the class, and then just some general business tips that hopefully will help you out. So tonight's class, optimizing settings. So part of the introduction to this class, we're going to compare the different versions of QuickBooks. I have a really good spreadsheet that'll walk you through the different versions. I'll walk you through how to set up QuickBooks. So if you don't currently have, does everybody at least here, do you guys all have QuickBooks? Are you on? Okay, but if there's anybody on Zoom, we'll walk through how to set up QuickBooks, how to create a QuickBooks account. We'll do a complete overview of QuickBooks. So we're going to click on and just go through everything, and then get into some of the customization and personal settings for QuickBooks. Okay, this is going to be the link that you want to write down or bookmark or whatever. This will be your go-to link. So, and I tried to make it easy. It really just takes you to a Google Sheet, but it's go.pacecpa.com/class. And so I created this link because I'm going to share links, and I felt like you guys just needed an easy way to just click on stuff and get there. So if you have a computer here, it'll make it a little bit easier. If not, you can follow up here on the screen or on Zoom through the screen share here as well. Okay. Go to the next one here. Okay, we'll come back to this. So I'm just going to go to this links list right here. So, and I can see a couple of you have popped in there already. So these will be, again, your go-to links. Some of these you'll be clicking on every single class. So the first one, and I'll just walk you through these links so you're familiar with them. The first two are test drive companies. So QuickBooks has actually created these test drive QuickBooks files. And so you'll see a lot of the class, probably like 95% of the class, it's not going to be taught through a PowerPoint. We're not teaching it through slides. This is live, hands-on. We'll be in an actual QuickBooks company file. playing around here and actually using a QuickBooks file. So the one that we'll be using for class is actually the second one. It's their advanced version. And the reason that I'm going to use that is because it'll have every single feature that's offered through QuickBooks. So we'll cover everything. The second one, and we'll look at this here shortly, is a link to a spreadsheet that'll compare the different versions. This one right here, if you want to ask me a question, so obviously if you're here live in class, feel free to just raise your hand or throw something at me or whatever you guys want to do to get my attention. I'm here to answer your questions. So if you guys have questions, feel free to let me know. If you're on Zoom and like to ask a question, there is the chat feature, and I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm hoping that when you guys ask questions, it'll pop up and it'll chime or do something, so that I know that you guys are asking a question. But yeah, ask questions through the Zoom chat. The other option, I know some people are watching this on the recording, and so maybe not be here live or on Zoom, but there's this Google form right here. And so if you click on that, that'll take you to this form where you can ask your question, let me know who you are so I know who I'm responding to, and then your email address. So if I can't answer this question live here in class, then I'll try and follow up with an email to you, so that, again, I'm here to answer your guys' questions and help you out. Let's see. The second one, so register for upcoming classes. Again, there's a link to the college's website. This will be the link to the actual Zoom registration page, so you can register for class that way. And then the class slides. So I have these slides right here. If you want to copy the slides or you want to reference them later, then you're welcome to come here. You can click on this link, and that'll take you to the actual slides for the class. So again, there's not a ton of information on the slides, but if there's anything I had on there that you want to reference later, I've made those available for you. So any questions so far? You guys good? We'll keep rolling. Okay, so for the very first thing, different versions of QuickBooks. So if you're in the document here, you can just click on this link. So compare versions, right below it. These are the different versions of QuickBooks. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versions of QuickBooks now. When I started doing this like 13 years ago, there was only one version. It was QuickBooks Online, and it was awful. Their very first version was, nobody used it. Everybody used the desktop version. Nobody wanted to use the QuickBooks Online because it wasn't very good. But again, they've been working on this for close to 15 years now. So they've put a lot of money, a lot of research, a lot of development into QuickBooks Online. And it's really becoming to the point now where the QuickBooks Online is basically, it's getting better. At least in my opinion, it's actually way better than the desktop. So again, this class specifically, if there's anybody that's in here wanting to know about desktop, this is not a desktop class. If you're using desktop or you're thinking about converting to QuickBooks Online, this is a class that'll be helpful to you. But just so that everybody's clear, this is definitely not a desktop class. So the different versions, and this was just updated. QuickBooks, this actually comes from Intuit, who owns QuickBooks. They update this spreadsheet periodically. The 4 different versions. First one is self-employed. Second one is Simple Start. Third one is Essentials. Fourth one is Online Plus. And the fourth one is Online Advanced. And so you can see across here some of the key differentiations, in the features that they offer. So QuickBooks Self-Employed, I never recommend people be on self-employed. It's super limited in its features. You can't do a lot with it. Now, if you're trying to decide, should I use like Excel, use a spreadsheet, or should I use QuickBooks Self-Employed? I mean, it's definitely better than a spreadsheet, but it's really limited on what you can do inside the file. The second one, Simple Start. This is great for anybody that's just you're getting going with QuickBooks. You're starting your business. You have something that's pretty simple. And once we get to the simple start through the online advanced, one thing that I'll say here is you can always upgrade and you can downgrade. So if you are using simple start and there's some features and essentials that you want to use, you can upgrade to essentials. And what that does is it just unlocks those additional features. Say maybe you're using Online Plus and you're looking down here at all these different features and thinking, man, I'm just not using half of them. You can always downgrade, and they'll, because obviously with anything, the simple is a lot cheaper than the online advanced. In my opinion, they're all, for what you get. When we talk about this is the, for some businesses, this is like the one program that's running their whole entire business. And so, with that in mind, I think there's tons of value in them. And I personally pay for QuickBooks. I mean, they don't give me anything for free. So, personally, I feel like it's worth paying for it. So, I won't spend a ton of time going through all the different features, just because, again, that's one of the reasons why I gave you guys the link to the spreadsheet. But just know, so simple start, everything here in this orange color is included with simple start. And these are the number of users that you can have. So in simple start, 1 user. As you go to essentials, you can now have up to 3 users. And everything's included plus these additional features right here. We go into Online Plus, and again, the reason that you're going for more and more users is typically the bigger the company gets, the more employees you have, and so it creates a need for more employees to then be into the QuickBooks file. And so here, Online Plus, now we can have up to 5 employees in there, and these are some of the differentiate. The main thing when we get into Online Plus, and why I see a lot of people go to Plus, is they get class tracking. So if you're a business that has multiple different locations, and we'll get into class tracking, but if you want to track things across, different, areas, locations, products, that's where it's almost essential that you have to go to the QuickBooks Online Plus. And then the Online Advanced, this is a relatively new one. Again, we can have up to 25 employees in this one, and you get a lot of these custom features over here. So again, this is something you can reference down the road if you're thinking about what version do I need to be on. As we scroll down here, QuickBooks Online functionalities by subscription. Again, it gives you some additional details about the self-employed, the simple start, the online essentials, the Online Plus, and the Online Advanced. So that's the overview there. If you're looking to really just start your company file, everybody's here. Everybody here at least has QuickBooks. But it's really simple. So if you just Google QuickBooks Online, it'll take you right to their website. See plans and pricing. Again, it's kind of the same thing. It's not like as detailed, but essentially what we looked at. And really to get up and going with QuickBooks Online, you're selecting your plan, you're choosing it, and just building it. So it walks you through all the steps. And then of course at the end, they want your credit card information. So gotta pay for it, but it's worth it. So any questions as far as features, what we can do in it, anything like that? And if anybody has anything on Zoom, feel free to chime in. We can answer any of your questions there as well. So those are the different features. Okay, so now if we go back to this links, you want to click on the second one. So the second one, and again, if you have your own QuickBooks file, you're more than welcome to follow along in your own QuickBooks file. Or if you'd like to use a test drive company. The nice thing about the test drive company is you can totally delete stuff. You can do whatever you want in the test drive file. As soon as you close out of it, it's going to reset. So anything that you do in it, it just resets as you exit. So if we click on this, this will open up the actual QuickBooks and takes you through the process, making sure you're So basically just this link right here, you kind of have to click on it, and then it should pop up a little link down below, and then click on that right there. And mine might look a little bit different than yours, but yeah, you're really just clicking on this link. And that takes you right into what I'll just reference is the sample file, or it's Craig's Design and Landscaping Service. So just know that there's, you know, I'm definitely not sharing I'm definitely not sharing Craig's confidential personal information here. But that's just the name of their test company, and this walks us into the actual QuickBooks file. So hopefully everybody is able to get into this. Okay, so I want to just I want to do an overview of QuickBooks. Again, this is going to be like our crash course, so it's going to be a lot of information. We have roughly 20 or so minutes to really go through everything before I recap some of the stuff here at the end. But when we log into QuickBooks, the first thing that it takes us to is the dashboard. So this is like the default home page for QuickBooks. And as you scroll down, you'll see that there's always multiple ways to get to different things. And so we're going to go through those different ways. There's some shortcuts to hopefully make your life a little bit easier. But again, we're coming to the dashboard. When I refer to things, sometimes I'll say money in, money out, accounting and reports. This gives us a really good visual as far as what that means. So money in, these walk through the workflow. So again, all these buttons you can click on. There's also ways that we can get into things over here. But money in, that's where we have customers, we're invoicing customers, they're paying us, and now we have to record those invoices, those payments, and make sure all the customer accounts are correct. Money out, that's anytime we spend money. So maybe we have a company credit card, we have a debit card, we're paying bills, we're spending cash, whatever payment methods we use, that's the money out. And this is every time we do that, we have to record in QuickBooks what we spent the money on. So money out. Accounting reports, we have banking, we have transactions we need to review, different reports, but again, this is just our general dashboard that we land on. If you just hate this view, it's like I don't want to see all these things. It was made, if you've used desktop, it was made to kind of mirror that dashboard in desktop a little bit. So some people like it, some people are like, I want to get away from desktop, I don't want to see it anymore. So if that's the case, they have this business overview tab. I personally like this one. It gives a quick overview of your business. So profit and loss, how are you doing in the last 30 days? Again, all these things you can toggle through. So you can look at last 30 days, this year, this month, and see how your business is doing at a glance. Expenses, all the expenses you've had. So by default, last 30 days, broken down by the different categories. Invoices, if there's anything overdue, not due yet, not deposited. And then our bank accounts, what are the different accounts that we have tied to our QuickBooks and our business that we use to operate out of. So whether it's a checking, a savings, MasterCard, Visa. I had a question earlier this week. So there was a company, they had set up their bank account and they'd actually linked it to QuickBooks, but then they had a American Express, and it wasn't a business American Express, but they used it exclusively for business, so there wasn't anything on there except for business expenses. And so there's some confusion as far as, can we link that to QuickBooks? Can we not? It's not technically business credit card. The answer is, and we'll skip around a little bit here. So any account that you have that you use exclusively for business, absolutely, definitely, you want to link that to QuickBooks. It's going to make your life so much easier down the road. And again, this is going to be a lot of information. I think I explained it earlier, it'll be like we're going through stuff at 1,000 miles an hour. Once we get going through the individual classes, it's like we're going through it at 10 miles an hour. We're going to slow down and really dive into all the different settings. But I think the critical thing now is, if you do have QuickBooks and you don't have any accounts set up right here, you definitely want to get stuff linked in your QuickBooks. That's kind of the step one in my book as far as getting going with QuickBooks Online. So again, you can link your checking account, savings account, MasterCard, and it's super easy to do that. So the way that we do it, we hit link account, and if you're wondering, man, does my bank, does my credit card, does it connect to QuickBooks? They support over 20,000 local and international banks, so chances are pretty well that it will. The ones that we see here are kind of the bigger ones, but even like a local one, a Zion's Bank, you can see they link. Mountain America, they link. So you go through, we won't actually walk through the example of linking it in here, because obviously you have to type in your banking password, and everything, so we don't want to save that here. But it's pretty straightforward. Have you guys all been through this process? So was it easy?
Yeah.
You haven't done a credit card? Okay, yeah. And if it's a debit card, so say if you have a debit card, then obviously it's already tied to the bank account. But like a credit card, so like American Express, basically you just click on it. I guess it won't let us because we're in a trial account. But you would just enter your online banking password. I always tell people you can't. So even though it's linked in QuickBooks, you can't transact. You can't do banking transactions in QuickBooks. So if I transfer inside of QuickBooks money from checking over to savings, it's not going to do that on your actual bank account. You have to do that separately. It's really more just a read view of what's happening. So we'll come back. We'll come back to this
one.
one.
Yeah, will you be able to answer a few more questions on the credit card?
Yeah.
Like that? Do you want to do it now or?
Yeah, we could. Yeah, we could.
So when you have a credit card like that, as I get handed receipts, do I enter the receipts in under MasterCard, and then when the bill gets paid, I match them up? Is that?
Yeah, so so basically the question was, if you couldn't hear on Zoom, how do we handle receipts, coming in on the credit card? That's like a perfect segue into some of these other tabs.
Okay.
So you can see on the banking tab up here along the top, so we're on banking, but there's also these other tabs up here. And so sometimes it's hard to see like what's going on because they don't stand out that good. But if you click on the receipts tab, what employees can do is they can give you the receipts if you want to scan them in to QuickBooks. So a couple different ways. They have an app, so QuickBooks app that you can use on your phone, that you can actually take a picture of the receipt and that'll pop up into QuickBooks, and then you can code those receipts as they come in. Sometimes it's an email, like we buy stuff on Amazon and we don't have that paper receipt. So you can actually email receipts directly from your inbox to QuickBooks, and that's a really cool feature. You have to set it up. There's a certain email. It gives you a unique email address that you email stuff to, but that's an option. Another option is Google Drive. So if you have like a shared Google Drive where people are taking pictures and uploading receipts, that's an option. If you're in the advanced version of QuickBooks, they actually have another feature right here called expense claims. It's in beta. That might be a little buggy, but it works pretty well. This'll allow employees to then have the app and upload these receipts into QuickBooks themselves. So this is another option that you can use as well. So basically what happens, employee goes out, say they go to Home Depot, they buy some supplies. What they can do is they can take a picture of that receipt. It automatically sends it to this dashboard, and then you just go ahead and code it so that it's in there. So does that?
Yeah, then do you set up a vendor for, say,
Yeah.
MasterCard?
Yeah, so when you actually go to pay the bill.
And then okay.
Yeah. So the next question is, once we have all these charges on we'll use MasterCards for the example, just since that's what they have in here. We have all these charges on MasterCard. What happens? How do we actually go to pay that? So there's a couple different ways, but yeah, you actually set up a vendor for MasterCard, and then when we go to pay that, really what we're doing is we're transferring money from like a business checking over to that MasterCard and paying that bill. So, and we'll get into the nuts and bolts as how does that work? What does that transaction look like? Um, but yeah, I mean, why we're on the banking tab, a couple things. So banking, this is the first screen, and my major recommendation at this point would be if you don't have accounts linked, go ahead and link those. We actually I did one, it was last week. Um, they hadn't, I mean, they'd been running their business for, almost 2 years now and didn't have anything in QuickBooks. And so we were actually able to go back through the online banking 2 years and bring in every single transaction for 2 years into QuickBooks. And we started coding everything, and it was like super slick to just get everything in there. So if you're out there and it's like I started my business a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years ago, and you just haven't, for whatever reason, done any of your accounting, there's a saving grace for you. You can connect this stuff. You can bring in multiple years worth of transactions, and then once they come in, this is where they'll more or less be held, is right in here. And so, and we're definitely going to come back to this, to really go over how do we get these expenses in, how do we set rules. But just more of a general overview. This is the banking tab. So if you hear me referring to the banking, this is what I mean. App transactions. If you do a lot of stuff on Amazon or Square or eBay, some of these different apps can actually connect to your QuickBooks to save you some headache. You can set rules. So this is I love this feature. So for example, if you always go to Home Depot and you're always coding Home Depot to maybe job supplies, you can basically code that transaction once, and then every time you go to Home Depot, I mean, maybe you're in construction and you're going to Home Depot 20 times a week. Every time a charge from Home Depot hits the QuickBooks will automatically code that to supplies and just help you save some time on the entry. Tags. We're going to spend like a whole day just on tags. So tags is where we can actually tag different transactions, to be able to then filter them down. So in this example, they've tagged fitness instructors, utilities, aerobics classes, yoga classes. So whatever your business is, there's different things that pop up that you can tag and then start to build reports off of those. And then this is the other one that we looked at, the receipts. So receipts, bill, stuff that you have coming into your QuickBooks, it can go right here. Sales. We'll look at this one real quick. And again, this is just to help you navigate QuickBooks, especially if you're new. Overview. So when we click on sales, you'll see that first thing, a tab pops up over here. So we can filter to the different screens via this tab. We can also come up here, overview, all sales, and start to filter through things up here. So do you guys invoice who's invoicing out of QuickBooks? So, okay, so we got some people. So if you're invoicing out of QuickBooks, this is like your go-to place. You wanna check up on this constantly. So what I like, by default, it takes you to the overview. This is like the tab you want to be on a ton, sales transactions. So the cool thing about QuickBooks is depending on how much data you have, the key is how do we filter that down to the data that's relevant to us that we want to use. So if you're sending out estimates, anybody send out estimates? Yeah. So if you're sending out estimates, you can hit this estimate and it'll filter all the estimates. So you can see in this sample file, they haven't sent out any estimates. But if they had, that'll pop up all the estimates. When we enter transactions into QuickBooks, we can mark them as maybe it's something we want to bill. So say you go to Home Depot and you buy a pump for a project, and we want to bill that to the customer. When you're putting that transaction in QuickBooks, you can actually flag that and say, hey, I want to bill this charge to that customer. Something that they gave me the approval to go out and buy it. So here, this is unbilled activity. So it's stuff that's happened, maybe it's time or whatever, but it's stuff that hasn't been billed, so it's like your workflow. You can come through here and you can start to enter these unbilled transactions and create an invoice right from them.
Does that connect back to the estimate? does the estimate, say it's $1,000 for an estimate?
Yeah.
Can you earmark it or somehow identify that it needs to be billed so that you don't lose?
So
Does that make sense?
yeah, so the estimate, once you build the estimate, you send that to the customer, they look at it and they're like, absolutely, I want that, or maybe we want to add stuff to the estimate. But basically we get to the point where the customer has agreed, okay, I'm in agreement with this estimate, let's proceed, with the work. Then you can actually turn that estimate into an invoice. And so, and you can do progress invoicing. So maybe part of the invoice is, hey, we're going to convert this estimate to an invoice. We're going to send you that invoice, and we want you to pay like 50% or something. So there's different rules that we can set to then have that customer start paying on that. So yeah, definitely. I mean, that's kind of, and you see as we move along here, so it starts with estimates, it starts with unbilled activities, and then we get over here to what's actually been invoiced. So these are things that we've invoiced. The overdue, this is one that you want to pay attention to, because anything that's overdue, this is meaning, hey, we've done the work, we've sent the invoice to the customer, and for whatever reason they haven't paid it per the term. So maybe we gave them 30 days, they didn't pay. So this is like, now we got to start tracking down money. Open invoices, everything that was sent out that still hasn't hit the due date yet. And then paid, this is everything that's been paid on recently. So if you want to see, hey, did a customer, they said they paid their invoice yesterday, can't remember if they did, you can come into here, filter it down by all the paid invoices and see what was paid recently. So again, you can filter through transactions through this ribbon. You can also filter through here. Lots of different ways you can filter through things. So this is all sales. Invoices, if we want to create an invoice, this is going to be our main invoice screen. Customers, if we're adding customers, if we're removing customers, if a customer calls in and says, hey, our email address changed, our address changed, any one of these, we can have a snapshot view of all of our customers, if they have an open balance, if we need to receive money, maybe they paid a bill, if we need to update their information. For example, this one, we click on them, we can add notes. So the nice thing is if there's specific notes you want to keep on a customer, it gives you a great way to then start to manage your customers. And then the last thing over here, products and services. So if you're invoicing things out, maybe it's your time, maybe it's, in this example, they're invoicing out design work, concrete, pump, sliding, lots of different things. So all those different products and services that you offer, then those are what live in here under products and services. So, yeah.
Do you have to create a new customer in order to send out an estimate? Okay.
Nope. Yeah, you can send an estimate to an existing customer. Absolutely.
But if it's a new person, you have to.
A new, yeah, if it's a new, yep, then you have to create a customer. Yep. Yep.
Or you can set up a project under company A, they can have more than one project, more than one estimate. Is that what you're talking about, or are you talking new customer?
New customer, yeah. And the way you do that, so it's pretty simple. You come in here to your customers, and you just hit new customer, and it'll walk you through all the information. So it's pretty slick that way. So that sells. There's some companies that they don't even use the sales. Sometimes with businesses you'll have multiple systems. So do you guys have like different apps or stuff that you run? Remind me do they have like a separate system that they run some of their jobs through? And
there are some systems that run job costing,
okay.
and they're doing that separately, and
Okay.
I wonder if it's just so much duplicate work.
Yeah.
Or like there are some of our customers that use like Builder Trend or other
Builder,
things
that's a huge one. Yeah.
that do that. Some of them don't utilize it like you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Or like it can function, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of that it would be nice to centralize it.
Cool. And I ask that just because we are going to dedicate a day to all these different apps. So you mentioned Builder Trend, that one's huge. I mean, and they do a really good job if you're in the construction industry. But basically, at that point, what QuickBooks becomes is like where all the data finally gets filtered down to your profit and loss. So, and basically what I'm saying, especially for people on Zoom, if you have other apps that are running, maybe some of your sales, different point of sale systems, maybe you're a restaurant, a popular one they use is Square. I think a lot of them use, it's a product called Toast, that they're running a lot of their sales through. A lot of those apps will actually connect to QuickBooks to save you some of your data entry. But really, at the end of the day, the goal is we want to filter down all this information into our QuickBooks so that we can see, one, profitability. Is our sales, more than our expenses? Are we making money? Are we losing money? But yeah, this is the general sales overview tab. Cash flow. This is kind of a new one that they've added, and this is really, especially if you're invoicing and paying your bills out of QuickBooks, this will help you estimate if you're going to have cash like in a month, in 3 months, in a year. And what it does is it runs some analytics based on invoices that you have out, bills that you have on a frequent basis, and it'll actually help you understand your cash position, which is super important if you're running a business. I mean, you got to understand, am I going to have money at the end of the month to pay payroll, pay all the bills? So this cash flow planner really does a good job helping us understand that. Expenses, again, any expenses that run through your QuickBooks, they're going to land here. So if you're wondering, maybe am I coding the expenses right? I just put an expense in my QuickBooks, I need to change it. This expense tab will filter through every single expense, whether it was a bill, credit card, whatever it is. And some of the stuff you can change on the fly. So maybe this credit card expense here, it said it was for automobile, but really it was for what? Equipment rental. We can change stuff in real time right there and make our life a little bit easier there. So expenses, vendors, all the different vendors, these are people that we pay money to. This is the screen to manage all those. And again, anytime you see this ribbon, it helps us now start to filter through transactions. So these are bills that are overdue. So we've put a bill in, we haven't paid it. So this is our reminder to, hey, we need to get this bill paid because it's overdue. Open bills, these are bills that we've entered into the system. They're not due yet, but it's our reminder that they need to be paid. And everything that we paid recently, so all of our bills with recent payments will be right here. So the other big thing is, who here has sent out 1099s? You guys had to do that yet?
We do, but they're vended out.
Vended out?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're paying somebody else to do your 1099s,
But I
QuickBooks,
still have to
QuickBooks,
set up
you still have to set it up, but
yeah, I still
it's
have to
like,
make sure. I mean, I do everything but print.
yeah, but print them. you do all the work and then you pay somebody else to do it, which is fine. I mean, I've had people pay me to do their 1099s. I mean, sometimes, yeah, it's a service out there. But if it is a vendor, so general rule of thumb, anytime you're going to pay somebody probably more than $600 in a year, more than likely you need to send them a 1099, especially if they're not like a big corporation. I mean, if we set up our internet through CenturyLink, I mean, they're a corporation. We don't need to send them a 1099. But if we have, a handyman come and do work for us, and we know that they have their own little sole proprietor, their own little business set up, chances are that we'll need to send them a 1099 at the end of the year. So
a corporation is exempt, right?
yeah, corporation, yep. And you'll get all this information from them just so you can double check. I mean, you never want to just assume like, I don't need to send you one. You definitely want to ask them and get that information.
That W9,
Mhm.
W9?
Yeah, through the form. They'll fill it out.
And then if they are a corporation, you can just uncheck them?
Yeah,
you don't
so-
1099 them? Okay.
So say for example, let's just click on one of these here, one of these vendors. So as you're putting that information in, so basically the W9 comes back and we can see, okay, they're not a corporation. We need to send them a 1099. When you're putting everything in, you can actually come down into QuickBooks And let's see. Right here. So see this little box that says track payments for 1099. So first thing is it wants their business number. So do they have a tax ID, or maybe they're just a individual that's operating under their social security number. Whichever one that is, we put that in there. If you don't click this box, then QuickBooks will have no clue that you need to send it to them. So just a couple things, we're going to dive into deep detail on all these different boxes, all the different options, but some of just the highlights. If you need to track 1099s on them, we definitely want to check this box. So
But a sole proprietor isn't 1099, right? Is it
yeah,
just
yeah.
PR?
So corporations, yeah,
That
and
will-
there'll be some better instructions on but if they're an S corp or a corporation, then for whatever reason, I mean, it's just the rules that we've been given. You don't have to
They're
send them one.
exempt.
Yeah, they're
But
exempt.
Anything
Anything else?
else? Or if you're in doubt.
Or if you're in doubt, I mean, yeah, I'd say if you're in doubt, send it out to them. I mean, they're going to get it. It's not. I mean, you're not fined to send it out to them. You just, I guess, postage. You're out a little bit of time and money for postage. So, okay. So, vendors, workflows. This one we won't get into a bunch just because this is more of an advanced feature. So we'll kind of skip past that one. Projects is a relatively new one. This is like an awesome feature. So we'll spend again a day on just projects. If you're, I think the last one that they were a custom home builder, and so they would actually use projects to track the income on the job, the expenses on the job. If you're running payroll through QuickBooks, you can actually allocate employee wages, their time, to different jobs. So as a business owner, it just opens it up to awesome details as far as the profitability of a project. So, once you figure in, everything that you've collected from that customer, and then all the costs that went into it, right down to the employees that were working the job, then you can really get a good understanding of are you profitable or not, on the job. Payroll, we'll spend a whole day on payroll, just paying employees. So QuickBooks actually has a really good, payroll module in my mind. So you can pay employees through payroll. You can pay contractors. So maybe they're a 1099 contractor, but they've requested, I'd like to be paid direct deposit. You can actually do that all through QuickBooks. They have stuff for workers' comp, anything that's related to employees is now you can do that through here. So we'll get into those settings. Budgets. I think we've got a few classes just dedicated to budgets. So especially as we get towards the beginning of the year, how do we set up a budget? How do we track things? How do we know if we're coming in under or over budget? We'll go through all those. Reports. Tons of different settings that we can have on reports. So really reports, I mean, you want to be in reports often. Obviously the favorites are profit and loss, balance sheet, maybe accounts receivable. But all these reports, and we'll get into how to change some of the settings and customize them so that it really drills it down to the information that's relevant to you and that you need to know. So, and it also helps you, it's like your double check. So as we go to our reports, you can start to see, am I putting stuff in QuickBooks correctly? Am I putting it in wrong? Eventually it'll boil down to the reports, and we'll be able to tell from there. So reports, taxes, anything to do with payroll taxes. Again, this is where you can also file your 1099s right through QuickBooks. We can do that all within QuickBooks. Mileage, you can track your mileage. So do you guys have the QuickBooks app? Has anybody downloaded it?
We did.
Did you guys download it? So
We haven't used it, we just.
have you used it yet?
We
We just turned it on.
Oh, cool. So this one's kind of cool. So if you you know, especially if you're trying to write off your mileage, you know, if you have to drive to different jobs, whatever it is. I mean, usually we hop in the car and we've got to go somewhere for business reasons. This will actually track your mileage for you. So when you file a tax return, you're by, you know, per the tax code, you're supposed to keep a mileage log. And so this does your mileage log automatically for you. It figures out the distances, what the write-off is, and then gets those expenses all back into your QuickBooks. So really cool, powerful tool that you can use for the mileage. Accounting, chart of accounts, we'll drill down on all these. This is basically what we call stuff. So when we have an expense, you know, meals and entertainment, you know, vehicle expenses, we can customize those to our business. You know, some people, like, by default, there's an account called meals and entertainment, and sometimes it just drives people nuts because it's like it's always meals where it's never entertainment. And so we can customize those to have the accounts reflect what the actual expenses are, what the different income buckets are. So those will be the chart of accounts. My accountant, if you're working with an accountant that maybe does your taxes, helps you with different projects, you can add those, your accountant, directly to your QuickBooks file. So that's a handy thing, and it makes it easy for them too, because they don't have to bug you for reports. They can actually log right into your QuickBooks, pull the reports they need, and it just saves some back and forth that way.
Can they do screen share?
So this isn't actually a screen, so this is just like direct access right into
Okay.
your, right into your, now if you're on a Zoom call, obviously you could screen share, you know, that way. But this brings them right into your QuickBooks. And then again, the apps, some of the different apps that plug in to your QuickBooks. So that was like a super fast overview of QuickBooks. Again, the way that we've designed the class, so if we come back here, let's see, get that to go down. So if we come back here and we click on the registration page, so you can see that really now as we get into these classes, we're going to start to slow down, and in everything that we just did super fast, we're going to slow down and really get into all the details. So that's the goal. So next, in fact, let me jump back to our slides here. Got about 5 minutes left here. So again, for tonight's class, you definitely want to remember this this link here, go.paycpa.com/class. Again, if you have questions throughout the week, there'll be a link to a form that you can submit your questions. If you're like me, sometimes when I'm in class, right in the middle of it, it's hard to know all the questions. But then as you start into the week and you start going through stuff and you actually start applying this to your own QuickBooks, typically that's when the questions come up. And so, you know, whether it's midnight, whatever, hit that link and you can submit those questions so we can get everything answered. Okay, the one thing. So this is, if you have your QuickBooks file, I want everybody to look right here, and if there is not a logo, my challenge is to get a logo for your business. It always kind of drives me nuts when people, they spend all this money, they have this cool business, and then they don't have a logo. It's so easy to get a logo now, and it really just, so the cool thing is, so you're going to put a logo here in your QuickBooks, and as you start to send out estimates, as you start to send out invoices, you start to email your customers through QuickBooks, that logo ends up on everything. And so if you don't have a logo, it just kind of by default puts your name, and it's kind of boring. But if you have a logo, it really just, I feel like, helps take your business to the next step, and it just gives you some credibility, like, hey, they actually took the time to get a logo. And so my resource for you is, oh, and I wish that would just get out of my way. Oh, I guess I can move it around. Cool. Okay, so my resource is, have you guys ever heard of Fiverr, Upwork, 99 Designs? There's so many places that you can get a logo for like $5. And so you could even Google Fiverr. This is one that I've used. there's tons of freelancers out there that will create your logo for literally $5, $10, $25 is probably the max. And what they do is they create all these, you give them some instructions, they create the logo, they send you all these different copies, and then within the matter of like 2 days, you have a logo for your business. So again, that's kind of my, if there's one thing to really just take your QuickBooks to the next level, get a logo on there. My bookkeeping tip, and we touched on this just a little bit, but your cash position. So as far as, you know, and this is personally, I mean, this is how every time I log into my QuickBooks, this is the first thing I do. And this is what I'll challenge you guys to do is you start to use your QuickBooks and use it on a regular basis. But the first thing you want to do is come in here to your banking, and I don't know why it looks a little goofy there. That looks better. You can see right here where it says updated moments ago. This is the last time QuickBooks went to your bank account and updated that balance. And so if this says 2 days, 3 days, 30 days ago, first thing you should do is hit this update button. What that's going to do is it's going to tell QuickBooks, okay, go to my bank, update my QuickBooks with all the latest transactions, and then come back here and just watch those balances and kind of know your business. So in this case, it's actually a negative, so that's like a bad sign right off the bat. So if you come in here and your bank balance is a negative, then it's an immediate, okay, we need to get some money transferred over into the checking, because if not, we're going to get charged these overdraft fees. Maybe it's just huge, we have tons of money in there. If there's more money in there than we feel like we should have, then maybe that means you haven't paid bills, or maybe you're just killing it. So reward yourself and draw some out, and that's part of one of the nice things about owning your business. So cash position, start your day by checking how much cash you have. Since cash is the fuel for your business, you never want to be running on or near empty. Knowing how much you expect to receive and how much you wish to pay during the upcoming weeks and months is important. So again, just kind of get a feel for how much money you need to run your business, and constantly check that bank account to make sure that you have enough in there. Okay, my last one, my business tip, and I'm not going to read this. I'll leave it up there if you guys want to read it. Just think about how your customers think of you. Are you an expense to them or an investment? Hopefully whatever product or service that you have, hopefully it's providing a ton of value to your customers, so that every time they go to pay you, it's not painful. If it's super painful every time they have to pay you, then usually that means that they're not getting enough value out of you, and it doesn't really feel like an investment. So know how to market yourself, know how to put yourself out there as either the expert, your product superior, the services you provide. These are all the different benefits. But I always like to end on a business tip. Just, it's kind of the motivation. Running a business is definitely not easy. We have to learn things like QuickBooks, which are sometimes hard to do. But as we understand these business tips, or basically how to act more as an investment instead of an expense, hopefully that'll help you grow your business. Okay, so next week, we're going to go through some of the more, QuickBooks, but really some of the different settings and things that you can do to save time. That every time I teach the class, my whole goal is I want you guys to be able to do all of your bookkeeping in as little as time as possible. Because I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning and decides, like, I want to spend all day doing bookkeeping. The goal is, how can we learn QuickBooks so that we can get in here and spend as little time as possible to really get everything done, and then spend the bulk of our time just understanding our business, being able to run the report, seeing how we're doing, and knowing where we need to focus our time. Again, questions. If you have questions, you can submit them on the form, and that's it. So let me double check.
Well, next week it's Thursday instead of Wednesday, right?
It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
Yeah, so it's Wednesday. So for next week, and it might be a little bit confusing, but I'll leave this on here. So this is the class that we're in right now, optimizing settings. So kind of what we did tonight was really went through all of just everything QuickBooks, top to bottom. We went through everything. Next week, what we're going to do is really start to get into some of the settings. And now that we have a general idea of everything that's in QuickBooks, how can we now start to customize it to really fit our brand? So this will be, that's why I wanted to pull this up. So yeah, so Wednesday, July 6th, and it should have, so if you click right there, it'll pop up the other dates. Can you see that okay? I can move this out of the way. So Wednesday, July 29th, that's tonight. Next class will be Wednesday, July 6th. And so that'll be the day 2 of this class. So everyone that joined us on Zoom, thank you guys for joining us. If you have any questions, definitely you can use this class link right here to reach out to me. But as far as that's all we have for this class tonight. So we'll stop.